Okay, good afternoon, viewers at home. As usual, I am your one and only Papka International, the one that have roots in Africa, branches in North and South America, Asia, Australia, Antarctica, and Europe. Today, we're here with another seasoned guest, the one that have experience, over 10 years of experience, banking and consulting industries, that work in UK, precisely United Kingdom. He is here to talk to us on strategic alleviation methods for poverty alleviation in Nigeria. And today's series of poverty virus in Nigeria, I have some other people also with me that will ask a lot of questions. And viewers that are on Facebook, you can also send your questions on that Facebook chat. And also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Papka International TV, because after this session, it is going to be uploaded. And our Facebook page, Papka International, Instagram, Papka Inc., Papka International, and Twitter, Papka Inc. Our speaker is a co-owner of Untitled Chapter Limited in UK, a company in UK. So he has experience, and I believe that today, the process of locating or finding vaccine for the pandemic called poverty virus in Nigeria and Africa is going to take a step closer. And he is no other person than Mr. Adeyemi. Mr. Adeyemi, you are welcome on board.
Thank you, Babka. Thanks for inviting me, and hello to everyone, wherever they may be. Just to correct you there, sorry, Babka. I work for Golden Charter. It's a big funeral company in the UK here, and I work for the product and innovation department there. I don't own it. It's a massive company I work for.
Okay.
But what I do run though is a customer service company called Futuro Nigeria.
Okay.
Which we talk about encouraging people to understand what customer service is, and just teaching them ways to deliver service in a world-class fashion. So just to talk about that one. So on the case of the Nigerian one, so the fact that we're discussing these things is a good thing. The fact that it shows that we're all passionate about Nigeria. We want the best. And most of the things we're going to be talking about today, or most of the things I will be talking about today, they are not new things. They are things that people must have heard of. So it's going to be an interactive session. It's not, no one has a fountain of knowledge. It's not going to be me lecturing people and telling them this. It's not right or wrong answers. The main thing is just to challenge our thinking, to challenge us to think about the way things should be in Nigeria and things that can be done to move us faster from extreme poverty to at least a decent band of how life should be in the normal circumstances. So the topic itself, if you look at the keywords there, you've got strategic ways to alleviating poverty in Nigeria, and you've got the poverty. So I'm going to structure my discussion into 3 parts so that to have clarity on the whole thing. So the first part we're talking about is poverty itself. Poverty can be vague. What is defined in poverty in the UK, for example, is different from how we define poverty in Nigeria. So the poverty in Nigeria, we'll be looking at it from the context of what the World Bank is suggested, which is looking at extreme poverty. And when we say extreme poverty, we're talking about people living on less than $1.25 a day. So if you look at the statistics we have in Nigeria now, the extreme poverty is just alarming. It's looking at over 100 million people in extreme poverty. And we used to be India. Now Nigeria is overtaking that. That's really concerning. You know, you have millions of kids that are now in school, they're roaming the streets, they're begging for hams. You know, it's just the problems in Nigeria is there are a lot of problems in the country, and it's good to narrow things down. If we're going to discuss all the problems in Nigeria, we're going to be here for like donkey days. So The poverty itself, I'm going to discuss in three aspects of it, which is, like I said, extreme poverty, but we narrow it down. We're talking in context of income poverty. Then we also discuss in context of health and education, because we have in documented research to say that one of the fastest ways to reduce poverty especially in developing countries like Nigeria, middle income country, is to look at it from education and from health. So if people have good access to education, a decent health care, then that's a good foundation to work from. But at the moment in Nigeria, those things are not even there. So that's the second part I'm going to be looking at there is to look at the revenue stream in Nigeria, because we all say we want good things in Nigeria. We want good electricity. We want good things. We want good that. We want decent education. But we need to understand that you need money to fund these things, so that we don't just keep thinking about it and going around in circles. Strong economy is important to deliver the good things we all want. So we need to discuss the context of the finances in Nigeria. Now, I'm not an economist, and I don't know 100% about the state of finances in Nigeria. But one thing we do know is that the country is broke. And it's broke because of past mismanagement and incompetence of the previous government. So when we look at the revenue stream of Nigeria, I will now go back on the third aspect to see how we can relate that to addressing some of the poverty issues, just to make things clearer to us. So the first part I will discuss is the income poverty. Like I said, and income poverty will be in the context of creating jobs, because we need to be able to create jobs to deliver jobs for people to move from an extreme poverty, at least a relative form of life or decent form of life. So to create the jobs, to create growth in the economy, then in the health sector, we're talking about delivering and creating primary healthcare centers. Because you often see all the politicians building big hospitals. Big hospitals is not what we need in a country like Nigeria. So we need primary health centers in different local governments. So what those primary health centers will do is they will attend to primary medical needs of the people, and they can able to spot early signs of illnesses before they develop into something big, so that the hospitals are not overwhelmed. So the context of the health. Then if you look at the education, for example, you look at the education in the context of free primary and secondary school education. Because if you have a free education, the primary, the secondary, then you have a solid foundation of educating your people. At the moment, what we have now, we seem to be having a problem of generation of lost illiterates. So let's look at the North, for example, where there are millions of kids that are now in school in North. They're roaming the streets and all that. But there's an aspect of politics in it as well. Because if you have millions of kids roaming the streets in North with no education, then you're going to have, the future is going to be bleak. And that means we're going to end up in a cycle of poverty and illiteracy, for example. So one of the things, for example, that can be done to address the issue of education in North can be something simple as giving the parents some incentive. So you can say, for example, every parent that is registered their kids for free education gets 3,000 naira a month. That way, all the mothers will be energized to take their kids to school. What we're seeing in some parts of Nigeria now is they're using police officers and the local police officers to arrest those kids on the streets begging for alms, forcing their mothers to say they need to go to school, which is the wrong approach. The wrong approach will be to provide some incentive to the mothers who are already poor, so that incentive will encourage them to send their kids to school. And that trend can begin to flourish like that. We can do different case studies So that's in part of the education. Like I said, just to summarize it. So in terms of the job creation, some of the things that can be done in jobs creation can be something simple as exporting back office services. There are so many countries, so many companies in the UK, for example, that don't mind to export some of their back office work to Nigeria for cheap labor because they can save money. And the good thing we have in Nigeria, for example, is we have so many people in Nigeria speak good English. So most of all our education is done in English. So we speak and write good English. Number two, we have a good location in terms of geography. We're just 6 hours away from the UK, for example. The time difference is pretty much the same. So the government can make the compelling argument to travel around the countries to encourage them to outsource their back office services to Nigerian people. And that will create thousands of jobs overnight that can be done easy. And another thing that can be done is tourism. There are so many countries around the world that there are middle income countries like Nigeria that do tourism. Mexico is there. They make huge fortunes from tourism. So Nigeria, for example, can decide to create, even if it's 1 or 2 resorts, a world-class resort, and we can begin to develop our tourism industry from there, and that will create jobs overnight. Having said that, like I said, the question will be, how do we fund these things? So that will bring me to the aspect of discussing the revenue stream in Nigeria, just to discuss some of the background analysis. Now, we all know Nigeria makes most of its money from oil because we're basically an oil economy, so we make many millions of dollars from crude oil. Our capacities are things around $2 million, 2 million barrels of oil a day. On a good day, that's our capacity. So lately, we've seen a reduction in the price of crude oil. So it's falling to about $60 a barrel. And we know that in order for Nigeria to have extra or to balance its books, we need oil to be selling at $120 per barrel. So if we need $120 per barrel of oil to be able to have excess money to fund things, now we're talking about $60 a barrel. So it tells you, it gives you into perspective of how much we're losing in terms of crude oil. So we're only making $60 a barrel. Say, for instance, we're only doing 2 million barrels a day. So we've been facing a severe short of cash since the price of crude oil is falling. And to put the icing on the cake, most of the spendings we have in Nigeria is recurrent expenditures, which we only pay a lot of money on paying salaries. Most of the states are not self-sufficient. Only very few of them are self-sufficient. Majority of them rely on allocation from the government. So without allocation from the government, nothing can work. Salaries can't be paid. And that's why seems to be having problems now in terms of funds. Now, corruption is a part of it, obviously, but that's another topic entirely. If we discuss corruption now, it's going to take us ages. So let's park that, put that aside, and let's just discuss the revenue side of it. So when the present government came in, obviously there was short of cash. The next thing government can do, which is inevitable, is to continue to borrow, because the money coming from oil is not enough. You only barely pay people's salary. So that means you haven't got anything left to fund projects across the country. So you can't build bridges, you can't build all the infrastructures. To do that, you've got to borrow. And that's why you're seeing government borrowing money left, right, and center. Now, unfortunately, the pandemic came as well, which affected the whole world. So it meant government even was struggling more money-wise. And that's why we've seen lately that the government now kind of adopted an approach of squeezing cash out of the people, from the vulnerable people, which is creating more hardship now. So it means we begin to see things like increase in fuel price, increase in CBN adjusting their tariffs, increase in VAT. These are just the ways for the government to generate money to do stuff across the country. So because we have severe short of cash now, it's almost very difficult for the government now to fund some of the good projects to address the issue of education, the issue of health, and to create jobs. The only thing that, my own opinion, one of the few things that can be done is even all this money that's been borrowed can be used to address those things that can lift millions of people from poverty overnight, which means we can decide to create a project where there will be primary health care centers across the country in different states. We can decide to create a project. So if we do that and we get free education for millions of kids, and we decide to have a project where we want to do one or two big resorts to kickstart our tourism industry. And to do that again, we go around the world, we encourage companies to export their back office services to us in Nigeria. Those one or two steps alone, we will be surprised how far we go. So the main thing is for us to keep making good national policies. It's as simple as that. As long as we keep making very poor national policies, we're still going to we're going to be grounded. The key thing is we need to keep making good national policies, not keep borrowing money and spending the money like nothing is happened, nothing is changed. So for me, I would say the three things we need to do urgently, and these things can be done within 2, 3, 4 years to address poverty in the land, is to address the issue of education, get as much as people, millions of kids educated as much as possible. The strategy of arresting kids begging on the streets and all that is a wrong strategy. Instead, we should be giving the parents some incentive. 2,000-3,000 naira a month to every parent will go a long way to encourage them to send their kids to school free of charge. We do that and we focus on creating jobs for the people in the short term. That will go a really long way. Those three things can be done within 2 to 4 years under the right leadership. So before we even start thinking of the macro, the bigger things that needs to be done in the country, these things can be done immediately. These are policies that can be implemented very, very quickly and very fast. The main thing we just need is the political will to get it done. If you look at most of the developed countries, those are one of the fundamental things that get them going. The issue of the fact that they have a decent quality education. Some of them are expensive, but then they provide government grants, loans, and all that for people to get educated. The primary and the secondary school education is largely free in most of the developed countries. In Nigeria, we can afford it under the right policies. We channel the money to the right places. It can be done. These things are not impossible at all. So I don't know if anybody's got questions, but those three things I think I want us to take away from my chat, that the main thing we need to do to address the issue of poverty immediately can be done. These are not things that 10-year projects. It can be done immediately. It's going to be, if what can even be done is to create a separate department for it. If it's under the right leadership, we can call it the Department for Poverty Alleviation. Those projects can be under that department. People can be there to implement it, to oversee it, and to deliver it. So it's a bit like you're a football coach. The president, for example, is like the coach, and the players are the cabinet members. So the players are there, the cabinet members are the ministers. So all needs to be done is to, once you have a good team play, 5-star players, they are the cabinet members, they put heads together, they discuss these things, the president gives them the tool to get it done. It can be implemented ASAP. And within 2-3 years, we begin to see the results. But I know politics is complicated. We need to do things by the rule of law and all that. But this is a topic where everybody will kind of agree upon. We all know we need education, we need good health. So I wouldn't foresee a situation where people will come out and challenge these things. Is we can challenge other things, other economic policies and all that, but these are fundamental things every society should be built upon. To enjoy true prosperity, we need to keep these things going forward. Other than that, 50 years down the line, we're still going to be here discussing the same thing. So it's just addressing those three things for me, I think is key for moving us forward.
Okay, viewers at home, as you have heard Mr. Adeyemi, I forgot to add, he is an alumnus of the prestigious University of Glasgow. I forgot to add. Definitely, you have said a lot on trying to alleviate poverty. If I can recall on what you said, you talk about the income, poverty, health and education, revenue, and one of the things that caught my attention was back office. But before I ask my question, I have somebody in the house. I think I want to invite Mr. Femi for question. Mr. Femi?
Yes, sir. So, thank you very much, sir, Mr. Papkal. I am Femi Olajide. Yes, sir. I want to appreciate Mr. Adeyemi for a very wonderful presentation, sir.
Thank you.
That's very good, sir. But one of the things I would like to quickly stress, sir, is that according to a particular statistics in which I actually went through some time ago, I was made to understand that the major strategies, there are 5 major strategies in poverty alleviation. And the 5 are, we have the economic, we have the political, we have the social infrastructure, we have the agricultural, as well as the ideological strategy. However, you have actually pinpointed some points that one of the ways in which poverty can be alleviated in Nigeria, we have job creation. We talk about building of primary health centers in different local governments. You also mentioned education as well as tourism. Now, my question is, I actually want to dwell from education. According to a particular statistic as well, I was made to understand that about 30 million children are out of school in Nigeria. 13 million children are out of school in Nigeria. And according to a particular statistics as well, the federal government budgetary allocations since 2011 to 2020, 2011, the budget that the federal government actually made, the amount that was earmarked for education was 9.3. In 2012, we have 9.86. 2013, we have 10.1. In 2014, we have 10.1. 2015, we have 10.7. 2016, we have 2016, we have 7.9. 2017, we have 7.4. And 2018, we have 7.04. 2019, we have 7.05. And 2020, just the last concluded year, we have 6.7, which I think is the least out of the budget that have been earmarked for education. My question is, if the government actually continues like this, do you think education will actually be a good strategy in actually alleviating poverty in Nigeria? That is number one. If government, because one of the things in which I actually believed, according to statistics, we are made to understand that education is one of the best instruments in actually curing the issue of poverty in any country. When people are enlightened, when people know their rights, you actually is an instrument of power for them to actually know how to go about life. So when education is taken away from people, when you take away the power of education from people, you actually left the people powerless. So according to this budget that we have seen, do you think that if government actually continues like this, do you think education is going to be the best instrument in actually bridging the gap and also curing the poverty alleviation? Apart from that, you also talked about giving incentives to the parents of the children and things like that. I will quickly like to stress that there are different programs that have been put forward over the years to actually cure the problem of poverty. There are different programs that have been put forward. Different programs. We have empowerment, but the problem is, I don't think incentives is just like somebody that is giving, just like a friend that is giving another friend money to buy food, Why don't you teach the friend how to actually go efficient? I think what those people actually need is for them to get a good source of income. If government actually empower them, give them job opportunities, or equipping them with skills that will make them, that skills that will actually fetch money for them, I think that can actually bridge the gap. But to me, I don't think incentives will actually go a long way in actually bridging the gap of poverty alleviation in Nigeria. So I would like you to quickly talk about that aspect, considering the budgetary allocation of our government as regards to education. What do you think the government should do? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Femi. You've raised a very good point there, and all what you said, obviously, they all valid points. They all make perfect sense, and you're right to suggest that the government is not putting in enough money as they should when it comes to education. I mean, if you look at most of the OECD countries, I know that they have a percentage of their GDP that goes towards education annually. So from the statistics you've quoted there, it shows clearly that Nigerian government is not paying enough attention or give towards education, which that should change. Those are some of the things that should change to make our education system stronger. And if we want to offer free education for free, by the way, when I'm in education though, I'm not really talking in context of universities now. I'm talking in context of primary and secondary education to be free for all the kids, because that's, to me, I think that's the foundation. That should be the basis where they can now move on to the universities at that point. But if we have a solid free education of primary and secondary school, it will go a long way. Obviously, I think some percentage of the Nigerian GDP should be channeled towards that, maybe 4%, maybe 5%, but I think around 4 or 5% is the recommended percentage that should be going towards education. On the second point you raised that giving incentives that might not really work when it comes to encouraging parents to send their kids to school. For what I think, what we need to understand as well, Nigeria is a very unique setting. You know, it's one country, but we've got different cultures. And in situations like that, I think we need to have these are unique problems, because Nigeria is a country that has got different tribes, different culture, and different mindsets of people. That's a unique problem. And I think situations like that requires also a unique solution. I'll give you an example. In the context of the health, for example, we've had situations where health workers are going to northern Nigeria to encourage people, or women or mothers, to do family planning and to lecture them about the need to use contraceptive pills to control birth and all that. But you find that in some of these cases, some of the women refuse this education for cultural or religious reasons. Some of them actually think these pills are designed by the Western countries to make them sterile or to sterilize them. That's how bad things can get. So when you have a complex problem like that in Nigeria, for example, you need to be innovative in your solutions. So you can't, when you have a situation of 10 million, maybe northern kids out of school, and the immediate thing I think that can be done is, the mothers are obviously in extreme poverty, is to try to give them very small incentive to encourage them to send their kids to school, because they will do it. They know if they don't do it, they're not going to get the money. To me, I feel that that's kind of an immediate thing that can be done to change their mind, because you're talking about millions of mothers that are vulnerable, that are not educated, with millions of kids not in school. So what the easiest thing to do, you're not going to create jobs for them overnight. To create jobs for them, it takes time. So if you're going to be waiting to say we need to put them to create jobs for them before they can send their kids to school, that's not going to address the immediate problem we have at hand. An immediate problem we have at hand is to get as much as kids educated as much as possible very, very quickly. So we're not wasting time. To do that, giving them that kind of incentive will say, okay, you get 2,000-3,000 naira a month. If you do, they send your kids to school. That's all you need to do. If you don't do that, then the payment stops. Then maybe we can now begin to see a change in that strategy, for example, might not really work in other parts of Nigeria, like in the east or in the south. You may need to use another strategy to get them to send their kids to school. It may be a simple strategy of speaking to all the religious leaders and all the traditional rulers to get them to understand that we need to speak to your communities to get them to do A, B, C, D. And those people will now play a part. That may work in those parts of the... So what I'm trying to say is Nigeria is a very diverse, can be complex society that some of the solutions is not a one-size-fits-all. We need to customize some of these solutions. That is why we need thinkers. Because if you're going to apply what works in the north may not work in the south, because of how diverse and how religious, how culturally complex the Nigerian setting is. So once we begin to understand that we need to customize our solutions, we need to adapt it to the country, the better than thinking of one-size-fits-all solution. So, but involving stakeholders, involving religious leaders, involving traditional rulers is very, very fundamental as well. Otherwise, we're not going to move very fast. So those are the things that can be done to address that. So I'm not sure, Femi, if that kind of answers your question there.
Okay, sir. Yes, that's very awesome. What I would like to add is that I think, just like you have actually said, that Nigeria is multifaceted. We have cultural diversities, tribal diversities, and things like that. And I think for that kind of idea or ideology to actually come into play, that means that it has to become a policy. It has to become a policy. Maybe for the northern people, it should become a policy, because one of the problems we have experienced over the years is that different succeeding governments or succeeding public administrators that comes on board when the tenure of one administration actually finishes, another person comes, they discard what has been existing, what they have been doing. And that has been the origin of most of the problem we have. If you trace it back down to the time of when Nigeria just got independence, most of our rulers then, they have beautiful plans for Nigeria. They have, look at Obafemi Awolowo. He even said in one of his speech, he said, the children of the poor, you actually failed to give education to. He said, by the time you leave, your own children, they will not allow them to rest. And that was what we experienced during the NSAS protest. It was supposed to be a peaceful protest, but was hijacked by hoodlums. And who are the hoodlums? They are the youths that were not catered for. They are the youth that were not catered for. And as a result of that, if we continue like this, so I think what we should actually look forward to is that maybe in the northern part of Nigeria, if that policy can be made a lifetime policy, I think it will work. But if a government or an administration actually comes on board with that kind of program and is not well implemented for continuity, I'm telling you, the thing will not achieve its purpose. It will only exist for a while, and after which it's going to die. It is my prayer that God just help us in Nigeria. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question and for the answer. If Former, you have question before I say something, viewers at home, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Papka International TV, our Facebook page, Papka International, Instagram also Papka International, and Twitter, Papka Inc. Follow us for more updates as we bring to you more series on poverty virus in Nigeria. Ms. Ifoma, your turn to ask Mr. Adeyemi question.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's nice being here.
Can you step up your voice so that people can hear you?
On the issue of poverty, poverty is a big thing in Nigeria and in Africa in general. And again, we see that most times the government, before they come into power, they promise the people so many things that they'll do this and do that. But when they come, they just they are only concerned about themselves. So my question is there a way that we as a people can make the government committed to poverty alleviation, perhaps by a kind of legislation such that the government
Can you repeat yourself? We're having some breakage. Can you repeat yourself from making legislation?
Okay, I was saying that is there a way we can compel the government to ensure that they commit themselves to poverty alleviation? That is maybe putting it in the legislation as a law, passing a law that compels government to alleviate poverty. That's my question.
Yeah, Fioma, thank you for that. Yeah, what you said is absolutely right there, and is a political one. Your question is more of a political one, and it's a no-brainer. What you just said is any right-thinking person would think, yeah, well, we should be having these things in legislation by law to compel people or politicians to deliver on all these little promises, and that's why a lot of new thinkers these days are calling for a review of the Nigerian constitution. So we hope maybe at some point there's been a general discussion on that one to rewrite the constitution or to make amendments to it, to make all these things in law, even on the state level as well. So that's fundamental. But for me, I would say another thing to add as well is the need to make sure we elect the right people into office. Because like I said, we need to keep making good national and regional policies, or even local policies. So there's a poor national policy, a poor local policy is obviously not a healthy one. And I give an example of the governor or the president is like a coach, and his cabinet ministers or commissioners are like the players on the field. So if you go a 5-star player or 5-star cabinet members on your team as a president or as a governor, you don't even need to do much. All you need to do is just to give them all the right tools, and they deliver. And they deliver the results in a timely fashion, and everybody's happy, everybody gets well celebrated. So one thing, yes, let's carry on having the discussion of amending our constitution to make it a law that certain amount of the GDP or certain amount of money needs to go into education. And also, let's keep challenging ourselves, educating ourselves to make sure we elect the right people in the office. Because if we get the constitution part right, we make it watertight. So it's going to be difficult for any future politician to come in and change it if we have all those things in law. So yes, I agree with you, but we need to keep having that discussion, and also to making sure we elect the right people in the office. Electing the right people in the office means that person will have the right cabinet members, and the right cabinet members will create the right reforms. Creating the right reforms means we deliver the change that we all want. So it's not rocket science. It's just the will to get things done.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, if your mother?
Yeah, thank you very much. Nice one.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you once again, Mr. Adeyemi. I can see really the University of Glasgow have done justice to your master's in management. That you can be able to, even though you have not come prepared for political stuff, you're able to dabble into it. Oh, notwithstanding, Nigerians, as you can see, this is Mr. Adeyemi. As I said once again, I remember Humbuse Papka International, the one that have roots in Africa, branches in North and South America, Asia, Australia, Antarctica, and Europe. As I said, today we are still discussing on strategic methods for poverty alleviation in Nigeria. On this our journey, we're trying to find the vaccine for the pandemic called poverty virus in Nigeria. So we had a lot of what Mr. Adeyemi have said. I want to go by Mr. Adeyemi, an individual like you, a personality like you that have been in the United Kingdom. I don't know whether you have been to Inverness, Dundee, Motherwell, and Edinburgh, and even Aberdeen. The reason why I'm saying that is that I don't want to talk about London. London is different. London is a superb. Understand? You talk about tourism. Looking at Inverness, Inverness, Scotland in the United Kingdom have the population of merely about 5.5 million people. Wales are about 2-something million people. Understand? I think England is having around 57 million. And you look at Scotland, it's not up to the population of Adamawa State in Nigeria. So the whole of Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, I don't think it's up to the population of Lagos in Nigeria. But they have enormous wealth that they will sponsor the whole of Africa. Understand? So looking at this, I want to talk about this tourism of a thing. You see, Nigeria have, different landforms. Looking at the Membila Plateau in Taraba in the northeast, the Membila Plateau in the northeast. So with this, with this thing, how will it be possible? Maybe let's say peradventure, the president of Nigeria will peradventure stumble on this video. That's okay. You say you want to you come to Papka International platform to see strategic methods of alleviating poverty, and you talk about tourism. Can you be able to, as a son of the soil, don't forget about you're here already, but you are the son of the soil first of Nigeria before coming to become the son of the United Kingdom. You understand? Being the son of the soil, if President Muhammadu Buhari will invite you and say that, Mr. Adeyemi, can you please give me step-by-step method or strategy in which I'm going to establish this tourism? Looking at, number one, we have insecurity situation in Nigeria. And in this insecurity situation, like in Northeast, as I mentioned, Membila Plateau, Taraba states, we have one of the best landform. How can we be able to actualize this thing in 2 or 3 minutes, sir?
Right. Thank you, Popka. Well, I would say that Africa is the only continent where you're guaranteed the sun on this planet. So that's another advantage for tourism. So if I was speaking to the president on that one, and before I say that, when I talk about these things, I like to compare like for like, so that we can have a good basis of foundation. So I wouldn't want to compare maybe the UK sector or to Nigeria. So like for like, we can look at countries that do tourism like Mexico, like Jamaica. These are just not middle income countries like Nigeria as well. So, and they're doing these things outstandingly well. So if I was going to speak to the president, like he said, I'll just say, Mr. President, give me some team. Give us some team. Let's go to these countries. Let's go and learn from them. Let's go and tap into their knowledge. President can give us a timeline of like 6 months to 1 year to report to him the details of our findings. So I would just say, give me 3-4 guys. Let's go to ABC countries. Let's go and learn what they're doing well. Let's go and tap into their knowledge. Let us replicate that in our setting. If many countries are doing this very well, there's nothing stopping Nigeria from doing the exact same. Yes, we have political instability. That's very important when it comes to tourism. But these things can be controlled. The country seems to be doing well in terms of reducing the political instability we have. And let's not forget, this political mess we have now doesn't involve all the states. Although we have pockets of different issue of insecurity in the country, but it's not across the country. So many states still have relatively peace. They're doing well there. So we can begin to look at tourism in some of these peaceful regions. It can be Calabar has a history of good tourism. We can expand that on Calabar. We can go to all these countries that's doing things very well, learn from them, and we can start as a pilot. We don't have to start like a big bang strategy. We can start by creating one resort and go around the world and market ourselves. Our time difference is fantastic. The people are nice. The people speak nice English. They write nice English. The geography is nice. The sun shines 24/7 around the clock in the country. So we've got everything going on for us. It's just the political will to get things done. And we need to begin to deviate from oil as well. Oil is still going to be useful in future, but demand is going to fall, is the fact. So many companies, car companies, already talking of stopping producing fuel engine cars by 2025. They're all using electric cars. So the world is changing, and we need to lock ourselves into that change. Otherwise, 20 years down the line, things are going to be worse if we're not careful. So the earlier we start thinking about these things, the better, but we need to keep the ball moving. So if I was going to say to the president, that's exactly what I would say. Give us a timeline, give us the resources we need. Let's get this done.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Adeyemi. I wish and I hope Mr. President can stumble on this video again, because basically, as I said, I'm not even making this session for Mr. President because Mr. President is already an old person. Understand? So, Mr. President, I'm making this video for Nigerians like me that are younger. As I said earlier, 45 years, 49 years downwards. That's what I'm making this video to see, because the larger percentage of the Nigerian population is the youth, and they are the one that are engrossed in this pandemic called poverty. Understand? And I think one of the previous speakers on this platform, when we were talking about the common interest, he tried to also talk about the political division and the capitalism. And also, I can see, like, you also talk about what he said, that we should customize our way. He said that if I can quote Victor Lee, he says that unless Africans or Nigerians will come and sit down on the table to write their own economy, how it is going to work for them in their own system of government before they can be able to have a headlong. And today again, Mr. Adeyemi also repeat that. That shows that there is something then. That shows us. So, fellow Nigerians, you see, these are people that they have not crossed their paths. These are different individuals. They don't know each other, and they are saying almost the same thing at different point in time. So definitely, Nigerians, we need to customize our way of economy, our pattern of economy for us that will be able to be workable for us. That is going to be workable for us in a workable system, that the child of nobody can become somebody without knowing anybody. And okay, I'm not here for a lot of talks. I'm only here to provide solutions.
That's it.
So okay, on this issue of poverty alleviation, definitely, permit me, you are Mr. Adeyemi, you are into management. Someone like me, I'm a nuclear and environmental scientist specialist, physicist for that matter. And I can see Mr. Femi here with us. Is it sociologist or psychologist? Can you correct me, sir?
Sociologist, sir.
Sociologist. And Ms. Ifoma is an industrial mathematician. So, and you see, we have different sector of individuals here, right? So, but yet, PopCare International is here for quality and excellence, that we can be able to conquer all. Conquering all means for everybody, not only one person. Understand? And on what I'm still going to talk about our diversity, because you talk about our diversity. If I would say something about our diversity, I want to quote. Should I quote his name? Let me leave him. I don't want to quote his name. Understand? He's an respected individual. It's not a political person. It's not a political person. He says that our diversity. I remember he went to talk. He preached. He's a pastor. He preached during one of the Nigerians' independence, harnessing our diversity, to harness our diversity. And looking at it now, Mr. Adeyemi, and thank God we have a sociologist here. What common ground do you see we can be able to have that this diversity can be able to be harnessed in Nigeria? And what common ground can we have it?
Well, diversity is a thing of strength. From my own experience, from working in the UK, for example, I've worked with different people from different countries, from Eastern Europe, from Sudan, from Bulgaria, different parts of the world. And what I found that in that experience is that it helps innovation. So when we talk about diversity in Nigeria, for example, I'm looking at it from the context of innovation, because if you have a room of a Yoruba person, an Hausa person, an Igbo person, or different region, you discover that different individuals will have different perspective to addressing different issues based on their formative experience or based on their culture or their background. And those are the things we should be tapping into. It shouldn't be dividing us. So ability to tap into that strength I think is a political one. So the politicians need to be preaching some of these things to make people understand that this is how there's strength in diversity, not when people begin to exploit the ignorance of people, saying because we have X issues in the country is the fault of Y people. When we begin to do that, then we begin to sow in seeds of division. So one way to tap into that is to look at it from the context of innovation, because different people from different backgrounds, from different culture, in one room, in the goal of solving a problem, means we're going to be generating tons of results from different perspectives. We can now put all these things together and see where we go from there. So key for me is innovation. Diversity really, really helps innovation if we settle down to tap into it.
Okay, our viewers at home, I said don't forget to always subscribe to our YouTube channel, PopCare International TV, our Facebook page, PopCare International, Instagram handle PopCare Int, and Twitter handle PopCare Int, Instagram handle PopCare International. Still on this strategy for alleviating poverty in Nigeria. On this course of journey to look or to find for the vaccine, Mr. Adeyemi said we should not do away with innovation. And I will say yes. But Mr. Adeyemi, again, if you are going to talk about innovation, number one, I want to also connect to education. You know, you say something that we have a generation of lost illiterates. What about educated illiterate? Don't you have them? Don't you see we have a lot of educated illiterate in Nigeria? Yes, because
yeah, we do.
Yeah, because the system, the Nigerian system, I don't blame the graduates. I don't blame the graduates. The Nigerian system of education, would teach you basically more of theoretical aspects as an engineer, as a scientist, you understand? But giving you the platform of having to explore and implement what you learned is not there. So that one maybe is another day. Is another day for that discussion of that day. But we talk about this. We're talking about. I want to also talk about the back office for cheap labor, employing back office for cheap labor. I think if I will get you right, when you are discussing, you spotted it out. That being a colony and a daughter of the United Kingdom, our Nigerians, our government can find it easy to be able to go into what you call the bilateral agreements. So now, Mr. Adeyemi, if peradventure, the Minister of Foreign Affairs now DM me at this moment in time to come and contact you, so that can I bring you up for him so that I can be able to give him what are the also plans, feasible one. Because now when we were talking, I remember when we talk about 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years. We have a lot of graduate rooming the street, no work. You understand? So now, peradventure, the Minister of Foreign Affairs venture into and stumble into this your discussion on strategic method, because you touch him, you touch his also sector. You understand? What can you tell him in 3 sentences that using the office of the back office methods that a lot of graduates can be employed and unemployment can be reduced drastically?
Yeah, thanks, Pavka. See, the good thing, one good thing about the came out from the pandemic is most companies now want to be cutting cost, because that's what a lot of companies are trying to do. And if you want to cut costs, one of the things you can do to do that is to outsource some of your services to cheaper labor environment like Nigeria. And most of the industrial or advanced countries these days now, they are service-based. They are not really manufacturing. So because they are service-based, that means there's a lot of market for Nigeria to tap into. So all that needs done is just to meet with some of these industries. There might be private sector, not even public sector. I'm talking about private sector companies, about looking for ways for them to argue with them, sit with them, have a meeting with them to say they can save X amount of money if they bring their businesses to Nigeria. And they can guarantee that everything, the services will be well attended to. Like you said, like we all agree that since we know that Nigeria is an English-speaking country, time zone rather, is favorable. So what we're going to be targeting are big service-based organizations in the advanced countries. And most of them will be happy to do business. They all want to cut costs. That's a survival for most business now, especially because of the pandemic. So there's a market for Nigeria to tap into if we have the right people that can take that forward.
Okay. Thank you again. You know, we cannot do away with the political leaders that are leading us. Definitely. When we talk about, we're going to talk about the strategic methods to alleviate poverty in Nigeria. Politics will not run away. We can't run away from politics. But a disclaimer to everybody, viewers, this platform is not politically sponsored. We are apoliticals. You have to understand that. We are individuals that have Nigeria at heart. And that is why we're here to share step by step realistic methods in which we believe that poverty can be alleviated. We believe that what PAPCA, I want the Nigerian government to disprove PAPCA International, that he said that poverty is a pandemic. So that is why, and the Nigerian government have every right to come and disprove it, because the world is a specimen in which different experiment is being taking place. So PAPCA International, after his series of experiment and research, he came out with the pandemic, not coronavirus pandemic, not the Spanish flu pandemic, not a lot of other pandemic, not even Ebola pandemic. No, he says his own pandemic that he sees is poverty. And this pandemic is not only in Nigeria, it's Africa as a whole. It ravaged Africa. And okay, viewers at home and our speaker with the wealth of experience, being a Pan-Africanist like me, I'm a Pan-Africanist, I love Africa. When I was going through School of Thoughts some years back, I wrote down a poem called Africa is Not Free. Africa is not free. Maybe people that have read it can see and go through to my personal group page, but that is not all about that. And one of the person that, and I want to pay a tribute to the late president of Tanzania, John Magufuli. May his soul rest in peace. I was calling their names. The Tanzanian president, Nkuru Kenyatta, a Kenyan president, John Magufuli, and let Mugabe. And Mugabe, I was quoting him, I quote of 1980. Even though I'm a scientist, I still read a lot. So I read history also. 1980, history has that Mugabe did, the first 10 years, he did exceptionally well in his government. And he's the most educated and decorated president. Tafawa Balewa, during their time, they were doing well. You understand? Kurume Kwame of Ghana. Till date, we have this stand that he dies, but he still lives. Sule Maitama. Sorry, Aminu Kano. That's why I want to quote that Aminu Kano of Nigeria. I always say that, how can the child of nobody become somebody? That was all these things that I was ravaging, I was having to digest in. But when I look at it, sir, with this, even with the cross, we have a lot of scholarships. We talk about education now. We have a lot of scholarship. I can say that the Commonwealth Scholarship, the United Kingdom sponsored its Commonwealth nation, on which Nigeria is one of its Commonwealth nation. That a lot of graduates for masters and PhD do come to UK to study. But why is it that we don't have thriving environments for all these knowledges? Because we talk about education. Sincerely speaking, coming to this part of the world, you have to adjust because they are technologically advanced. We say kudos to them. They have done well and they are still doing well. And yet they extend a hand of fellowship, okay, to our individuals. And we talk about innovation. You cannot do innovation without education. And a lot of individuals are exposed. Some of our leaders, I don't want to mention their names, they are governors, you understand? I don't want to mention their names, but they came here to study also. Some of them studied here, understand? Some of them are even CEO of banks, understand? They studied here in this environment, either America, Europe, or UK, you understand? But going back home, there is nothing to write home about. For me, I just say there's nothing to write home about. Because the more we try to do something, I think we are trying to, if we take one step forward, we'll take another 10 steps backwards. Because looking at the statistics at which Mr. Femi says, more especially looking at the budgeting of education and agriculture, if I'm going to get him right, there's no progression, it's only retrogression. By percentage, by proportion. Though you can see the money increase, but by proportion, you understand? It's integration, percentage-wise. So is there any way, because we don't want to talk about politics, but is there any way, maybe, understand, the vice president, our vice president is an educated individual. We hear you. You see that this man that you say you are exposed, can you just give us 2 to 3 ways that we can be able to put our innovation into practice, or also harness the Commonwealth scholars, the Chevenix scholars. We have other universities, institutions that they give, even PTDF, Petroleum Development Scholarship, you understand? In this Nigerian-based scholarship also, that sent his money is being spent, is going out massively. I know the government are trying in this aspect for them to give PTDF, you understand? But yet, if the scholars come back home, Why is it that there's no environment? Can you just tell our vice president, let's say Professor Yemi Osinbajo will meet you, or I'll be opportune, maybe Professor Yemi Osinbajo will call me and say that, Papka, can you call Mr. Adeyemi to tell me or write a proposal to me just within 5 minutes, understand that how can I be able to make this innovation realistic with the dilapidated, don't forget that we have dilapidated educational system. How can there be turnaround?
Right. Thanks, Babka.
We are not here to, thank God, sorry, we're not only here to talk about bad things of the government. Also, sometimes they do good things. So that is why we have to bring up these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we brought about the scholarship, PDF, PTDF, and all that. Those are good things. You're right. The Niger Delta, they do it as well with the amnesty program. And so they've done all those things right. But if you do that and you're leaving the primary and education out, with millions of kids roaming about the streets, there's a mismatch there. So for me, when I talk about education, I want the primary focus to be more on free primary and free secondary schools. Regarding the university we spoke about there, the good thing about Nigeria is a lot of people they think Nigeria is broken. We have good structures in Nigeria. The structures are there. The main issue is just to enforce things, to make sure it works. It's not a case of we don't have structures. We have structures, we have bodies in charge of primary school, we have a body in charge of secondary school and all that. So the clear structures are on ground. It's just to make sure we fund them and we enforce things and we push good policies for those structures to deliver the results. So for me, if I'm speaking to the vice president, like he said, he's a technocrat. He's well educated. The focus will be on making sure the kids at least have free primary and secondary school first. Then we can now begin to look at, because those are the ones, that's the foundation of the society. Those are the ones that will become the leaders of tomorrow, the engineers of tomorrow. So we need to make sure that basis, that foundation is solid. Everybody is educated at least up to secondary school. Then we can now begin to take it forward. That's not there now. So it's a clear mismatch. And that's why we're seeing problems of massive illiteracy in the land. So for my advice to the vice president will be, let's focus, let's have clarity, let's have focus, let's narrow things down. Let's not just be doing so many things at the same time. Let's focus on the free primary, free secondary for all the kids, regardless of where they come from or regardless of how they look. Everybody free secondary, primary and secondary school. Let's start from there first, and we can take it going forward.
Okay, thank you very much. We're about to run our viewers at home. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Papka International TV, our Facebook page, Papka International, Instagram handle, Papka International, Twitter, Papka Is, for more episodes and series of poverty virus in Nigeria. And Mr. Adeyemi says, focus. And as a scientist, let me just use the word laser approach. Maybe if you don't know I'm a physicist, I work a laser approach. It's an acronym for light amplification stimulated emission of radiation. If Nigeria, Mr. Vice President, peradventure you stop over this video, Mr. Adeyemi advised the Nigerian government that let's have a laser approach. Because there is a power in focusing something. So that if they can be able to streamline something, definitely things are going to get better. Okay, aside that, maybe let's leave our presidents and them aside. They are battling with their issues. We the young people, what do you think? Because we talk about revenue stream in Nigeria. The revenue stream in Nigeria. My questions are coming bit by bit, and like time is not on our side. Like time is on our side. Viewers at home, please, you have to pardon me. You know, I'm a Pan-Africanist, and any information that I see that want to help Nigeria, definitely I want to see it being dealt to the core. I want to talk about the revenue sector in Nigeria. With a little knowledge of you know, of the revenue aspect that I have. Startup business do struggle. If the revenue also varies from state to state, the revenues in Adamawa State is different. Revenue policies, let me use the word policy, in Adamawa State is different from the one in Benue State. And also is different from the one in Lagos State. You understand? So that shows that Nigeria, there is no homogeneous revenue policy across states. That if me that come from Adamawa State will leave Adamawa and try and go and set up business in Oshun, or set up business in Delta State, or go to Anambra, understand, or Edo, any part of Nigeria, I'm going to face different policy. Do you think, number one question, so I want you to just answer it. Do you think these heterogeneous policies across the state is good for the development of Nigeria?
Yeah, when we say policy, one thing I think the government has done well in the past is they made sure the setting up of businesses is now easier than before, where you can register your businesses easier than before. And when you talk about policies there, do you mean in terms of accessing loans to start up a business or to get public funds?
When we talk about policy, they also form of accessing loan, the other some of like grants, and we also talk about also paying of taxes. Understand? You see some states, the way they pay tax is different. I don't want to, as you say, let's what is good for the gander is good for the goose, isn't it? Let's try to make pari passu. I don't want to come to UK's system of government. We pay revenue, and anything you like, you buy unit for your light, you know what you buy, you watch it. Understand? There's revenue for it. There is tax on it. Understand? And you enjoy it. When you for your top up to make calls, your data connection, internet connections, all of them have revenues there. There are taxes there. But if you have issues with them, you call the customer care immediately. They will even begin to apologize for you. Understand? Because even though they are like say you think like it is it's heavily taxed, but they are delivered to customer satisfactions. But in our own system, we don't. That's what they say. The heterogeneous system is that they varies. It's not to customer satisfaction because there is no state. Bet me, there's no state in Nigeria you will go there and tell me that the businessman, a startup young man like me, want to start up a business, maybe an age of 18, 20 years old, that want to start up a business, be an entrepreneur, that the revenue, maybe let's say tax, would not be high for him.
Yeah, you're right there. From what you've said there, it shows that obviously we all know our tax system is broken and it's not good enough. That's one area that needs fixed. And that's a long-term one that is, I think is going to be a long-term project. Because it's a huge project, but it can be done to fix the tax system. And the government makes a lot of money from generating revenue from taxes, obviously, but it can be, they're losing a lot of money at the same time. There's so many people that are either not paying any tax or they're underpaying tax. So that's a very clear way that can be to generate funds for the government. And most of the developed countries you see now, that's where they hope to generate money from in the long run, because most of them have spent a lot of money to help businesses from this pandemic in form of loans and grants. But the only way, one of the ways they wish to recoup the money over the course of the years is to adjust taxes, corporation tax especially, incrementally, so that they can begin to claw back the funds they've given to businesses. Obviously, the tax system in Nigeria is fundamentally broken, and it's not automated. If we really want a good tax system, it needs to be fully automated. It needs to be clear. There needs to be transparency. These things can be done. The technology is available worldwide. It's just, it's one of those things that can be, I would say, that can be complex to deliver in Nigeria. It's just like the NNPC. You know, those things are like sensitive stuff that there's so many vested interests that's going to be working against the government to clean up all these things. So the tax system obviously needs to be cleaned up. The NNPCs, like for instance, needs to be cleaned up. So it needs a clear political will to get that done, because to be frank with you, I think there are so many vested interests that won't want that to be fixed.
Okay, thank you very much. I think no matter how good a dancer is, must surely leave the stage. Viewers at home, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Papka International TV, our Facebook page, Papka International, Instagram handle, Papka International, Twitter, Papka International. Papka International is the one that have roots in Africa, branches in North and South America, Asia, Australia, Antarctica, and Europe. Do well to follow us for series of programs on possible ways that this pandemic, we will find a vaccine to it. And before we round up, Mr. Femi, what do you have to say for the people?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. And I also want to appreciate Mr. Adeyemi Fajemisi for the elucidation you have put to some of those critical questions. One of the things I would like to say, as part of what Mr. Adeyemi have actually pinpointed, is that the aspect of our diversity, I think we need to strengthen our culture. Gone are the days when we used to have, before, there is nothing like IPOB, there is nothing like Ariwa, there is nothing like Odudua. It was as a result of the increase that we experienced in population and then conflicting interests that actually bettered all of these diversities, and every tribe or the major tribes trying to secede from one another. So I think if we actually strengthen our culture, it can actually breed again that spirit of collectivism in which we have actually lost. Because there is a saying that says that no society can ever get developed with other people's culture. That is the main problem we have in Nigeria. We have actually acculturated other people's culture and then eschew our own culture. So if you can actually strengthen our culture, if you can go back to our traditional way of life, I'm not saying that we begin to do things mechanical, but try to bring back that spirit of belongingness, that spirit of collectivism. I think it will actually aid our diversity and can actually be used able to bring about innovation. So apart from that, the area that Mr. Fajemisi also talked about our government trying to increase the number of schools and then making free education, at least primary and secondary education. One of the things I would like to add to it is that we have to sustain even the ones that we have existing. The problem we have is that our government doesn't sustain the one we have. I went back to my secondary school. I left secondary school 2011. When I got back from service, I went to my school just to go and do some things. By the time I got to the place, what I saw about the school, I couldn't close my mouth because I was just dumbfounded. All the buildings, the roof, everything. Even you check the staff room, everywhere dilapidated. The library is no longer in existence. The main hall we used to have, all of them, the windows have removed, windows falling, doors removed, and all those things. If governments are pumping money into education, let us also look at how they are sustaining those things. It's not that they just give money to a contractor, build school, and then just leave it. We have different boards that are actually taking care of those things, but how effective are they? So our government should look into those things, trying to sustain what we have already, and then from there, they think on how to actually advance it. And it is my prayer that as we actually have it in mind that we have a better Nigeria, by the grace of God, the Lord is going to take us to our promised land. Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Femi, for your contribution also. Mr. Adeyemi, our guest speaker for tonight. What do you have to say to just round up, to wrap up today's information? Specifically, and I want to say specifically, information that the youth, when I mean the youth, let me just say, let me use the word, the age, those people from 35 downwards. I said it earlier in one of the programs. I said that if you are 45 years and above, you are part of the problems, that you are part of individuals that have created the problems in Nigeria. That shows that my late father was part of it. Even my mother that did not go to school is part of it. Understand? That shows that. So those people that are from 45 years and above, I said they are the part of individuals that contribute to this problem. But being a young person, I don't want to keep quiet to see the same mistake, that my father makes, because they obey the existing government, they kept quiet, nothing to do. That affected a lot of us. That I will tell you that, as I said in one of the programs, when we were talking about the fate of research and development, looking at, when you go to the Northeast, you will see a lot of blind people. And it's one, due to the health system that causes it. And those children of those people are deprived from education. So, Mr. Adeyemi, what can you just tell the young people in this discouraging state? Because almost everybody is discouraged. Almost everybody is discouraged. What of encouragement can you give the people of my age so that they can be able to have faith in Nigeria and make Nigeria great again?
What I would say is, I know it's difficult, but we shouldn't lose faith in Nigeria because, number one, Nigeria is the most populous Black country on the planet. If it fails, it's going to affect the Black race, whether we like it or not. At the same time, if Nigeria succeeds, the ripple effect will shine across the world. So I know it's difficult, but what I would say is we shouldn't give up on Nigeria. The only thing to do, one very, very important thing to do, is to making sure we vote the right people in office. Because if we vote the right people in office, they are the ones that's going to be making that strategic decisions of creating jobs, making sure we have free education for kids and all that. If we keep voting the wrong people, then we're going to be going around in circles. So my message will be for the young ones not to lose hope. I know it's difficult. It's not something most people want to hear, but it's still, the country can still make it because we have all the intellect to cause a political earthquake in the land. We just need to make sure we vote the right people in office. Voting the right people in office means those people can deliver some of these changes we've been talking about. Wrong people in office, that's not going to happen. So we need to start from making sure the complex part of it is most people that live in the cities in Nigeria don't vote because most of them just want to go abroad. They're tired of everything. The ones that really do vote are the ones in rural areas and the villages. Now, whether this news or this what we're talking about is going to get to them, I'm not sure, but one way or the other, it might get to them. But the key thing is making sure election vote the right people in office. Anybody giving bribes for people to vote, that should be a red flag straight away for us. So any good thinking, forward thinking politician shouldn't be offering people bags of rice and all that to get their votes. The more we get people to understand these things, the better. The good thing about social media is good ideas shines to millions and billions of people in matter of days and weeks. So it helps. That's a good thing about digital platforms like this, what we've been talking about via Zoom and all. So let's keep talking about it. Let's keep shining the light. One duty we do have as young people, just one simple duty, vote the right people into office to deliver the change we want.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Adeyemi. The young people of my age, Mr. Adeyemi is encouraging you to vote the right people. And I will also say that you yourself be in politics, involve yourself in politics. That is the only way you can be able to also cause a ripple effect. Permit me to, I don't want, because I never wanted to mention any political individual's name, except the president and the vice president that I've been mentioning their name because they're the national figure. I will quote Malam El-Rufai. He says that, more especially those of the individuals abroad, He said that you stay abroad at the diaspora, you are only making noise, talking about social media. Hear what Mr. Adeyemi says, that you should come back also, partake in people that also vote, because you have the franchise, their right to exercise that civic rights that can be able to change a government. Mr. Mala El-Rufai says that there is no way you'll be talking without involving yourself. You must have to make your hand to be dirty before you can be able to wash or cause a change. So for me, Nigerian youth, involve yourself in politics in one way or the other. Not to be giving a youth political leader. No, I want to see a Nigerian youth maybe one day become the chairman of PDP, chairman of APC, chairman of a Transformation Party of Nigeria, chairman of AGC, a lot of the parties that we have. Understand? I want to see people of such category. And I think the Nigerian faith and Nigerian populace, citizens, will not lose faith in leadership. And for those in Iko, Victoria Island, Abuja, those of us in Port Harcourt that you are there, you want to run and leave Nigeria. Don't run and leave Nigeria. Mr. Adeyemi says, continue to vote. Don't leave people that are hungry, because as he said, people are hungry. That's why when they are giving back of rice, they will vote. They will vote. So you that you are exposed, you that you have self-esteem, you call yourself a man of integrity, vote for the right person. Thank you very much. Individual, as I said, today we have come to the last episode for today's week, poverty virus in Nigeria. And we brought to you strategic method to alleviate poverty in Nigeria. As you all know, that Popka International is the one that have roots in Africa, branches in North and South America, Asia, Australia, Antarctica, and Europe. Don't forget to follow us on our Twitter handle, Popka Inc., Instagram handle, Popka International, Facebook page, Popka International, and YouTube, Popka International TV, where a lot and interesting discussions, wonderful topics, realistic one will be brought to you on this platform that you will hear and you will see, and you'll be able to have your voice to contribute. You see, as I said, we are not censoring any information. You can come and say whatever your mind is, say you have it in your mind, as long as it is according to the civic rights, understand, to make Nigeria better. So that is what I am out after. And I want to say that don't touch this dial. Always do well to subscribe to this channel. And I believe, and it's my utmost heart desire, Nigeria will be great again. Once again, I am your anchor, Ijabla Pius.